How you doing? My name is Andrew Amigo, and I am the owner and founder of The Accomplished Brain. We are an educational resource and a rehabilitation company. And a lot of clients that come in to see me are people who suffer from concussions, traumatic brain injury, strokes, kids with ADHD, some movement disorders, balance disorders. Now, some people who come in with a concussion or traumatic brain injury, a lot of times they could develop autoimmunity. Why? And what do we do sometimes? What are some of the nutritional strategies that we work? Okay, so just remember, they come in with this chronic head injury, okay? There's a link between our gut and our brain and our gut, and that's that vagal nerve that we talked about. And that's getting any type of stimulation. We said that when the brain gets activated, when it receives the brain, the cortex, the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, the parietal, the occipital, 90% of the projections fire down here, and these are our brainstem, where our cranial nerves, where we have function. And what will happen is we have the vagal nerve, which is in our lower brainstem, very important because that stimulates the digestive system. Commonly, sometimes people can develop couple things. One is autoimmunity, and two is a Sibo, and we'll explain what the Sibo is, and we'll explain how a brain approach coupled with nutrition is really important. So what will happen is, let's talk about autoimmunity. So first thing is that the digestive system gets dysregulated, right? So the immune cells then get dysregulated. So we have an imbalance. With our immune system, we have two types of helper cells, your Th1, your Th2. What will happen is one side will be dominant, once there'll be an imbalance. What happens is really interesting when you do have autoimmunity. Normally, like supplements or nutrients like echinacea when people have a cold, or astragalus, or ashwagandha when people have stress, is usually really good. When people have autoimmunity, they can be detrimental because people have that head injury. If they have autoimmunity in the family, okay, they probably have a good chance that they might develop it through this environmental incident that happened with this concussion. And now, if they have a Th1 dominant, and they go in and they say, hey, I'm stressed and or I have a cold and I want to get on echinacea or astragalus, or they want to get on ashwagandha, that could be very detrimental. That could make their autoimmunity worse, which causes more inflammation, which totally degenerates the brain. So one approach, we need to activate the brain to get the vagal system. So indirectly, and then again, our vagal nerve strategy that we've been talking about in some of our other videos. And then we need to see if we do have autoimmunity, we need to be on autoimmune paleo diet. We need to support the immune system with good anti-inflammatories like fish oil, curcumin, resveratrol, and glutathione, which is a precursor to make glutathione is NLC-cysteine, which you could get. It's not that much supplement. These are all things that I help clients with. Very pinpoint with the supplements as well. And the second thing I want to talk about is a Sibo. So what is a Sibo? It's not with a C, it's with an S, okay, because I made that mistake a long time ago. So it stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. What tends to happen is when people develop Sibos, what will happen is we have a gut bacteria. There's very popular days called your gut biome, right? So your good bacteria, and that's the state of our health, which I'm working a lot on mine now, and I'm getting better and better. But what will happen is the vagal nerve stimulates what they call migrating motor complexes. Migrating motor complexes, and that's basically your smooth muscle that when the food comes down, it can push the food through the tract. What commonly happens is these migrating motor complexes, we get a head injury, the vagal nerve system doesn't work, they don't work, and then what happens is you get food that gets stuck in the tract. It fermentates and it increases your acidity, and what tends to happen is you also lose the ability to break down proteins and hydrochloric acid, and that's all that vagal nerve, that's the migrating motor complexes, and we have more. Basically, we have acid reflux, but it's really getting the brain the fire, getting the vagal system to work, and then making sure that the brain can activate the vagal system. We can start making hydrochloric acid, okay, and then we could break down our food and we could get those smooth muscles to work. What also happens with these migrating motor complexes is another thing is we have the good bacteria, which is used for digestion. It's stored in the large intestine. Okay, so just think about your large intestine. Okay, you have this valve here called the ileocecal valve. Okay, and then you have your small intestine. Okay, and then what happens is the bacteria is stored here. The migrating motor complexes allows a valve to open up and the bacteria to come in for digestion, right? And then the valve closes and the bacteria stay stored in the large intestine. This valve doesn't close when you have the head injury, vagal nerve, migrating motor complexes. The valve doesn't close, and then the good bacteria seeps in here. What happens is we have this small intestine bacterial overgrowth, and then what happens is every time I'm eating fermented foods, which is normally really good for us, those fermented food, the good bacteria, they feed off of that. The byproduct is gases, which causes an increased inflammatory response, and that vicious cycle happens. What has to happen is we need to be on a low fermentation diet, and we need to get the brain and the vagal system to work. Once we get that, then we're doing phenomenal, and we could control this whole situation. Thank you.